The moment she realized she was trapped in a nightmare, everything changed. Her ex wasn't just controlling, he was dangerous, and every second with him felt like a countdown to disaster. Then he appeared, a stranger with power and purpose, stepping in at the exact moment she needed. Could someone so unexpected really be her only hope to escape? She had never felt so powerless. Every message from her ex was like a chain tightening around her, reminding her that escape was impossible. Fear gripped her chest, and she could barely breathe, trapped in a world where love had turned into terror. The rain poured outside, mirroring her despair. Her phone buzzed, but she hesitated to answer. Each ring from him felt like a warning, a signal that danger lurked closer than ever before. She wondered if anyone could save her from this suffocating nightmare. A sudden knock on the door shattered the silence, heart racing. She froze, unsure if it was him or someone who could finally help her. The uncertainty clawed at her mind, and she felt the fragile line between hope and fear blur. Through the glass, she saw a figure tall, composed, with an aura of authority that seemed to push back the darkness in the room. He didn't knock again. He simply waited, as if he knew she had nowhere else to turn. He spoke her name softly, yet with a strength that commanded attention. "I'm here to help," he said, and in that moment, the impossible seemed plausible. She could hardly believe someone cared enough to intervene in her chaos. Her ex's threats echoed in her memory, and the room felt smaller, more suffocating. But the stranger's presence brought a strange sense of safety, like a shield forming around her fragile body and mind. He didn't ask questions. He just reached for her hand, steady and reassuring. His touch was firm, grounding, and for the first time in months, she felt a spark of courage ignite within her. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows, yet inside, a fragile calm settled. She clung to his arm, knowing that leaving with him was her only chance. Every instinct screamed that danger still lingered, yet she had no choice but to trust him. He guided her through the darkened streets with precise movements, as if he knew every alley and corner where danger might hide. Her pulse raced, but his calm demeanor gave her strength she hadn't known she possessed. Her ex was out there, somewhere, likely aware that she was slipping away. The thought made her stomach churn, but the stranger's vigilance reassured her. He moved with purpose, every step deliberate, keeping her far from harm. As they reached the car, she noticed how meticulous he was, checking every mirror, scanning every shadow. It was more than caution. It was a promise that he would not let anything happen to her. Once inside, the engine's hum was a lifeline. The streets blurred past, but she focused only on him. His eyes remained on the road, alert, yet she sensed an unspoken connection, forming a bond forged in crisis, raw and undeniable. He spoke briefly, his voice calm. "You're safe now," he said, but she knew the danger wasn't gone. She clung to those words like a lifeline, willing herself to believe in their truth. The city lights flickered past, reflecting in her wide eyes. Fear had driven her to the edge of despair, yet in his presence, even the harshest memories softened, replaced by a fragile sense of hope. He didn't ask for her story, yet he understood. Each glance, each subtle gesture conveyed a comprehension deeper than words. In that understanding, she felt her own courage grow, tiny but fierce. The car turned down a quiet street, away from the chaos. Her ex's reach felt distant, yet the shadows reminded her of the threat. She shivered, not from cold, but from relief and apprehension intertwining within her chest. She wanted to speak, to ask how he knew where she was, but words caught in her throat. Instead, she clutched the seat, letting him guide her through the night, trusting him in a way she hadn't trusted anyone before. He parked the car in a secluded lot. Silence enveloped them, yet it wasn't the oppressive silence she feared, it was protective, a barrier against the world that had tried to hurt her. For a long moment neither spoke. Her mind raced with questions, memories of past pain pressing down. Yet she also noticed the steady rhythm of his presence, a reminder that she had not been abandoned. Finally, he turned to her, his gaze unwavering. "You're not alone," he said. The simplicity of the words struck her harder than any grand speech could have. She realized that survival wasn't just about running, it was about trust. Her heart, still pounding, began to find its rhythm again. Each beat was a quiet victory, proof that she had endured, and that someone had chosen to stand between her and danger. He extended his hand again. "Come with me. You deserve safety," he said. The promise in his voice was more than words, it was action, a lifeline she could grasp without fear. She hesitated, then took his hand. The warmth of his grip seemed to push back the memories of torment, replacing them with a strange, empowering sense of protection she hadn't felt in years. As they walked away from the streets that had trapped her, she glanced back only once, seeing the shadows of her past fade. Every step with him was a declaration. She was reclaiming her life, piece by piece. The night felt different, now less threatening, yet charged with possibility. Each step forward was a testament to survival, courage, and the unexpected presence of a protector who had appeared when she needed him most. By the time they reached a safe haven, she realized that the nightmare wasn't entirely over. But with him, she felt ready to face whatever came next. His presence was a shield, his actions a promise that she would never be alone again. In the quiet safety of that refuge, she exhaled fully for the first time in what felt like an eternity. Relief mingled with awe. Someone had truly saved her, not just from her ex, but from despair itself. She sank into a chair, trembling, but the warmth of his presence made her feel grounded. Every shadow of fear still lingered, yet she realized she had survived the worst for the first time in months. She felt a flicker of hope. He handed her a blanket silently, respecting her space. No questions, no prying, just quiet assurance. In that silence, she found herself breathing easier, realizing trust was slowly weaving its way back into her heart. The memory of his calm intervention replayed in her mind. How had he appeared exactly when she needed him most? She shivered at the thought of how close she had been to disaster, and yet here she was, alive and protected. Her phone buzzed again, but she ignored it. The thought of hearing his voice, of being manipulated or threatened, made her stomach twist. She no longer wanted reminders of the person who had brought her to the edge. He noticed her hesitation and offered a reassuring smile. "Ignore it. You're not alone anymore," he said. His words, simple yet powerful, felt like armor around her fragile heart. She looked around, seeing the safe room for the first time. It was sparse, but to her it felt like a sanctuary. For the first time in months, she could imagine sleeping without fear gnawing at her chest. Outside, the city hummed indifferently, unaware of the drama that had unfolded. Inside, she felt a fragile, emerging sense of peace. It wasn't complete yet, but it was a start, a moment carved out of chaos. He sat across from her, his posture relaxed but alert. Even in this calm, she could sense readiness beneath the surface, a silent promise that he would act if danger returned. She wanted to ask him why he helped her, but the question stuck in her throat. Words seemed inadequate to express the mixture of gratitude, awe, and disbelief swirling inside her. Finally, she whispered, "Why me?" He met her gaze evenly, his eyes steady. "Because no one should endure what you did alone. Some things aren't just about chance, they're about responsibility." Her heart ached at the sincerity in his voice. It wasn't just heroism, it was moral courage. He had chosen to intervene, to step into danger, simply because it was the right thing to do. She remembered the night she had felt trapped in her ex's grip. Every threat, every shouted word came rushing back. But this time, she was no longer alone. There was a shield between her and fear. The rain had stopped, leaving streets slick and reflective. Outside, life carried on indifferently, but inside, a quiet transformation had begun, one built on trust, courage, and the unexpected presence of a protector. He finally spoke again, his tone calm, almost casual. "You're safe tonight. Tomorrow, we plan your next steps." She nodded, understanding that safety wasn't a moment, it was a process, and she had an ally. Her ex's reach still loomed in her thoughts, but it no longer held power over her. With him, she felt a quiet strength emerge, like a flame in the darkness that no storm could extinguish. The room's shadows no longer seemed threatening. Instead, they were neutral, waiting, as if acknowledging the balance had shifted. She could breathe, think, and even imagine a future beyond fear. He didn't leave her alone that night. Even as she tried to rest, he remained vigilant, quietly moving around, ensuring the perimeter was secure. It was a level of care she had never known, and it humbled her. She drifted into a light sleep, aware of his presence nearby. Every instinct screamed that danger might return, yet she felt protected, cradled by someone strong enough to face it for her. Morning light filtered through the curtains. The world looked different, now brighter, less threatening. Her ex's power had been diminished, at least temporarily, and with him she had a chance to reclaim her life. He prepared breakfast silently, a small gesture that spoke volumes. It wasn't just nourishment, it was a signal that life could return to normal, even after trauma, if given care and attention. She watched him move, noticing how composed and capable he was. It wasn't arrogance, it was competence and decisiveness, qualities that had likely saved her life. Gratitude welled up in her chest, heavy and sincere. He turned to her and offered a plan for the day. "We need to secure your safety, your files, and your space. You're not going back until it's all set," he said. She nodded, relieved that action replaced uncertainty. She packed a small bag, feeling a mixture of relief and anxiety. Each item represented a step away from danger and a step toward freedom. It was mundane, yet profoundly liberating. The drive to a safer location was tense but controlled. He navigated the streets with precision, as though anticipating threats before they appeared. She realized this wasn't luck, it was experience and vigilance. Every glance he gave her was careful, not invasive, but protective. She realized how rare it was to feel seen without judgment, cared for without expectation, and safe without confinement. He parked near a secure facility, explaining the precautions and security measures. She listened intently, realizing that each layer of protection was designed to allow her to reclaim autonomy over her life. Her ex's shadow still lingered in her mind, but with him, it no longer had the power to dominate her thoughts. Fear was now tempered with hope, panic replaced by preparation, vulnerability balanced by strength. She exhaled, feeling the weight of the past lift slightly. Survival was no longer passive, it was active, strategic. And she had a capable partner guiding her through the steps she couldn't have taken alone. She explored the new space cautiously, noting exits, windows, and shadows. Each detail mattered now. Survival had sharpened her senses. Yet, the presence of him made every step less frightening, as if danger could be held at bay simply because he was there. He handed her a folder filled with emergency contacts and safe houses. The meticulous preparation amazed her. It wasn't just about hiding, it was about reclaiming control and feeling empowered to survive, not merely escape. She glanced at him, noticing how composed he remained despite the gravity of the situation. His calm was infectious, teaching her that courage wasn't the absence of fear, it was action in its presence. The day passed with careful planning. He showed her how to secure her home digitally and physically, emphasizing vigilance without paranoia. Each step built confidence she had thought lost forever, small victories forming a bridge toward freedom. She found herself talking more, hesitant at first, but the sound of her own voice without fear was liberating. He listened intently, never judging, only guiding, proving that trust could exist even in the aftermath of trauma. Her ex tried to contact her again, but every call was blocked. The knowledge brought a mixture of relief and lingering anxiety. She realized that while the threat wasn't gone, she now had a strategy and a protector to confront it. He offered advice on handling future encounters. His guidance was practical, detailed, and reassuring. She understood that survival wasn't just about avoiding danger, it was about anticipating it, preparing, and acting decisively. She practiced scenarios, he suggested, moving through rooms and exits with precision. Each movement reinforced her growing confidence. Fear had been her companion for too long. Now, preparation became her ally. By evening, exhaustion pressed against her, but it was accompanied by a strange satisfaction. She was finally reclaiming agency over her life, learning to navigate a world that had once seemed impossible to endure. Dinner was quiet, but comforting. Simple food, thoughtful conversation, and the sense that she could relax without fear, it felt luxurious after months of tension and terror. He checked the perimeter one last time before nightfall, watching him work silently, efficiently. She understood that protection was a continuous effort, not a one-time act, and that she was no longer defenseless. She settled into a safe room, feeling the calm settle over her like a blanket. Her mind wandered, reflecting on how close she had come to harm, and how extraordinary it was that someone had intervened at the exact right moment. A knock on the door startled her briefly, but it was him, bringing her a small cup of tea. The gesture, simple yet intimate, reminded her that care could exist alongside strength and vigilance. Sleep was harder than expected. Memories of past threats crept into her mind, yet she felt the safety of someone ready to act for her. His presence was an anchor, tethering her to courage she hadn't known she had. Morning arrived slowly, painting the room in muted light. She stretched, noticing her body was tense but alive, and that even the smallest movements felt like triumphs after months of fear. He offered a plan for the week, each step meticulously designed to protect her and rebuild normalcy. It was overwhelming, yet comforting, structure after chaos, order after fear. She followed his guidance, learning to navigate public spaces, avoid potential threats, and trust her instincts. Each successful step reinforced the growing confidence within her. During a brief break, she allowed herself a moment of reflection. Tears came easily, a mix of relief, gratitude, and the lingering weight of what she had endured. Yet with him nearby, they felt safe, even cathartic. He gave her a small emergency device and instructed her on its use. The practicality of his methods amazed her. Everything was accounted for, and she felt her sense of helplessness erode with every precaution. She began to feel the strength returning to her limbs, the clarity to her thoughts, and a renewed sense of agency. Survival was no longer a passive state, it was active, deliberate, and possible. The evening brought quiet conversation. He didn't dominate the dialogue. Instead, he offered perspective, reassurance, and subtle encouragement. She felt the walls around her heart slowly soften, letting trust in cautiously but fully. Outside, the world carried on, indifferent to her struggle. Inside, she had created a bubble of safety fortified by preparation, vigilance, and the unexpected presence of someone who had risked everything to save her. She rehearsed escape routes and safe behaviors mentally, reinforcing habits that might someday be crucial. The discipline of preparation replaced the paralyzing fear that had once dominated her every thought. He observed silently, offering corrections only when necessary. The balance of autonomy and guidance allowed her to feel capable while still supported, a combination she had never known before. Night fell again, but this time it brought calm instead of terror. She realized the transformation had begun. Fear had lost its total grip, replaced by awareness, strategy, and the presence of someone powerful enough to protect her. She drifted into sleep with a growing sense of confidence. The journey was far from over, but she understood that courage, preparation, and the support of someone she could trust were now firmly on her side. Morning light spilled into the room, soft and reassuring. She stretched and felt a growing sense of independence. Even with danger lurking beyond, she now understood that courage, preparation, and support could coexist, giving her strength to move forward. He offered a final review of their safety measures, walking her through protocols one last time. Every precaution was deliberate, thoughtful, and empowering. She realized that survival wasn't about fear, it was about knowledge, vigilance, and strategy. Her phone buzzed, but this time, she felt no panic. She knew her ex's reach had been limited, and with the precautions in place, she could respond calmly, not reactively. It was a freedom she had never imagined. He smiled reassuringly. "You're ready for tomorrow. You can face the world safely now." She nodded, feeling the weight of months of fear lift, replaced by cautious confidence and determination to reclaim her life. The sun rose higher, warming the room. She could almost feel the shadows of the past shrinking, unable to hold power over her anymore. With him, she had learned that fear could be confronted, not endured. He handed her a folder with contacts, emergency instructions, and a plan to rebuild her life. Each detail reinforced the idea that she was no longer helpless, that empowerment and protection were within reach. As they stepped outside, the air felt different, lighter. Every step was purposeful, every glance deliberate. She had learned to move with awareness, to trust her instincts, and to accept support when it was offered. Her ex's memory lingered like a shadow, but it was fading. With each passing moment, she felt stronger, more resilient, and more capable of asserting control over her own future. He stayed close, not because she needed constant protection, but because he understood that healing took time, and sometimes courage needed the presence of someone steadfast to nurture it. They walked through quiet streets, each movement careful but deliberate. The city hummed indifferently, unaware of the drama that had unfolded. Yet for her, each step symbolized progress, recovery, and the reclaiming of freedom. She paused, taking a deep breath, feeling the pulse of life around her. Fear no longer dominated her thoughts. Strategy, courage, and resilience guided her actions, and she understood the value of preparedness in surviving trauma. He glanced at her, his expression unreadable yet supportive. She understood that this was not just about protection, it was mentorship, guidance, and the quiet reinforcement of confidence she had almost lost. The afternoon passed with measured routines. She practiced safety drills, reviewed contacts, and learned to move with awareness, each action building strength and easing the lingering anxiety that had once paralyzed her. He offered guidance without imposing, allowing her to regain autonomy while still providing structure. The balance of independence and support was empowering, giving her the ability to face the world without fear. By evening, she reflected on how far she had come. The journey from terror to cautious hope had been abrupt yet transformative. Each step forward was a testament to resilience and the unexpected kindness of someone who intervened. He observed her silently, noticing subtle improvements in posture, confidence, and awareness. He didn't comment, letting her recognize her own progress and reinforcing her sense of agency. Dinner was quiet but comforting. For the first time, food tasted normal. She realized that comfort, safety, and basic human needs had been obscured for too long, and reclaiming them was a victory in itself. The night came, but she no longer feared it. Shadows were neutral now, not threats. Her understanding of vigilance, preparation, and support had transformed fear into confidence, allowing her to rest with a sense of safety. She drifted into sleep with a growing belief in her own strength. The nightmare hadn't completely vanished, but it had lost its dominion over her life, replaced by courage and a newfound sense of empowerment. Morning arrived again, bright and promising. She awoke with clarity and focus, ready to continue reclaiming her life step by step. Her journey was far from over, but she now had the tools, guidance, and support to succeed. He smiled at her, acknowledging her progress. "You're ready," he said, and she realized he was right. She had reclaimed her agency, fortified her spirit, and learned that survival was not passive, it was active, deliberate, and possible. Stepping outside, she felt the city embrace her anew. Each breath was a reminder of freedom, every movement a declaration of strength. She had survived, she had healed, and she had someone who had ensured she would never face such danger alone again. The past lingered like a faint shadow, but it no longer defined her. With guidance, preparation, and courage, she had transformed fear into strategy, vulnerability into resilience, and trauma into a testament of her enduring spirit. He watched silently, knowing his role was complete. She had learned to protect herself, trust cautiously, and navigate the world with confidence. His intervention had been a catalyst, but her survival and growth were entirely her own. As she walked forward into a life reclaimed, the city lights reflected in her eyes, mirroring hope, courage, and strength. She had been rescued, but more importantly, she had discovered the power within herself to never be powerless again.